Hey, hold on real quick. Hold on. Pause.
Outrage culture. We talked a little bit about this last week. We've talked about outrage culture millions of times on the podcast.
Yeah, this
I'm
actually
starting.
what this podcast was originally about,
Yeah,
right?
it's kind of like
Outrage on
exactly
outrage.
outrage about outrage, right? Well,
Yeah.
now maybe this is like one of those self-realizations that you have after 38 episodes, but I started wondering, is outrage culture really real? And to get into what I mean by that, we put so much stock. What is outrage culture, right? It comes from what people say and where they using to measure what people say. They're looking at social media, they're looking at
Mm-hmm.
tweets, they're looking at comments on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. That's what
Right.
everybody is saying, right? But how many times, there are like the Karen, that goes on pissed off and, oh, this is ridiculous. There are some people like that express outrage. But for
Uh-huh.
the other people, maybe you just comment because you're bored. You're just saying something in passing. Or you're
Yeah.
quarantined for, 4 months and you're like, I'm just going to comment on everything because I'm bored as shit. Why not? You
Right.
really might not care all that much. But when you see hundreds of people saying, like, hey, this actually sucks, whatever, you might not really care. But the fact that so many people said it, we've paid so much attention to that, and it leaks into this cancel culture, right? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
so many people said you suck, we need to get rid of you, you're bad. Maybe people don't really give a fuck and they're just kind of saying stuff in passing, and people are taking
Well,
that and running with it and making it fucking gospel.
yeah,
Hey, this is what you said, this is
yeah.
what it
You know
is.
what? Yeah, you're 100% right with that. Because I feel like, first of all, what metric are they putting all of the criticism from all of these different, mediums of social media to, shit what people are, talking about amongst themselves and shit like that? Like, I mean, it doesn't go into some machine and it's like, like pulled out or anything like that. It's narratives that the media push, you know? So that's kind of like who runs all of that noise, like in a sense, because I mean, yeah, you're right. Like, cause I do the shit too. Like, I will speak up on shit, like on Twitter or talk about that shit, like on like Facebook comments and shit like that. But like, I really don't care, like. I mean, I really don't care at all. It is fun to banter back and forth, like, but at the end of the day, and like when it's all said and done, especially about like bullshit about like celebrities or, all kind of shit like that, like, I don't care.
People
Like,
get so bent out of shape about things, but equally, I think people pay so much attention to what other people say and
uh-huh.
just tend to make assumptions of, hey, if you say this, this is what you mean. A lot of people don't really mean what they say.
Right.
We seem to assign too much meaning to what people say, instead of thinking like, hey, sometimes people just say shit in passing, you know. But I think as a result, when you look at like outrage culture, it's, oh, you said this, people didn't like it because you got a bunch of negative tweets about this. We need to drop you from our brand. Because
Yeah.
what can happen, they'll go start tweeting at that brand, oh, you're associated with this person, I can't believe it, you suck. So there is some level of outrage that follows people around, but I don't know that it's as bad as people make it out to be. And I think if
It's
people
not.
stand up a little bit more and just say, hey, deal with it, we wouldn't
Yeah.
have as much of this cancel culture. You know what I mean?
Right. Um, and I remember at the top of the year, I think that was one of the first things whenever we recorded with Alan. I think maybe it was at the end of last year or something like that. But I remember like that PC shit in 2020. That shit's dead. You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
like that cancel culture and like all that shit. Like like fuck that shit. Like who really cares about what so and so did? I think it's fucked up when people like lose their jobs or like lose
Yeah.
their endorsements because of like their opinions. You know what I'm saying? Because we're all entitled to our opinion. Like, why does that affect
Right.
my work ethic or what I bring to your company or anything like that? Now, I will say, like, kind of with this, you know, the outrage kind of culture that has kind of still been going on, but it's kind of like a different, it's kind of a different angle of it, because I've seen a lot of people on like Facebook. Like, I've kind of gotten back into like using Facebook, or, you know, like browsing that shit a little bit more, and I've seen a lot of people like calling people out on like their racism. You know what I'm saying? Like if they're like talking shit in some like news, like some local news story feed or something like that, and like they go a little too far or whatever, and the words like people, you know what I'm saying, like we'll fucking start doxing them and shit, you know, and like
that shit's
they'll
bad.
get now, but at the same time, like I mean, I don't know. I think if you are gonna say shit on the internet, if you are gonna express your opinion, like you should be responsible for the type of shit you say. Like, I mean, no one's really going for like bigotry right now. You know what I'm saying? So you can kind of like should like hold your tongue with that, especially if you're on like Facebook.
Well, that, yeah, I mean, any kind
with
of
your
hate
real
speech.
fucking name and like your pictures of your grandkids and shit like that. Like, I mean, that's why, like, you know, Twitter's kind of like a different thing, because like it's kind of more of a anonymous kind of thing. Like nobody really looks like at your Twitter and like finds out shit about like your fucking kids or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? But like, you know, I think you got to pick and choose which shit. You got to be smart about that shit, especially nowadays. I mean, if you don't want to, reap what you sow over what you say on the internet, or what you say in like, you know, out when you're at these protests or some shit like that, or counter protests and some shit like that, you shouldn't be out there. You shouldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? Because like this is a real sensitive time in things of bigotry. Like now, you know, it was, you know, people getting outraged culture over like, you know, fat shaming or some like petty shit like that, like how we were the past 3 years. Not, I mean, how we were, but how, you know, like fucking, you know, people were over the past like 3 or 4 years, like, or even beyond that, you know, that was a little petty and like, you know, a little over the top. But like now it's kind of like, okay, this is like how you feel at this time, you know, like, nah, fuck off. Like I believe in that. But before, with that petty shit, like, nah, man, who cares? I don't care if, you know, like, I don't know. I just can't cancel someone over like their, like, I'm not with them like losing like a big endorsement or some shit like that. Like the Drew Brees thing, like we kind of like went overboard with Drew Brees. You know what I'm saying? It was like he was kind of really just like going automatic from, because you know how like, you know, like they're kind of media trained and to like say like he was just on the old shit. Like no one told Drew Brees. Yeah, no one told Drew Brees to like, you know, it's okay to like, you could kind of speak up for shit. You know, like now, you know, you don't have to go with like what the league memo says. You know.
He didn't get the memo, the real memo.
Yeah, he didn't get the memo, like, you know, and that's kind of what's wrong with people. A lot of people, they're not in touch, and so when they do say things, you know, like it comes off fucking crazy. So it's like, yo, what the fuck? Why do you think like that? Like, you know, get with the program, like, or don't get with the program, but don't be a fucking like dickhead, you know.